What up? What up? Welcome to week 3 college football betting on just another sports betting podcast. Because, yes, there are so many of them, and the industry is so saturated because we all want to be right and we all want to share our take, right? We as humans. If you're wondering, that's how I came up with the name. It's just because there's so many of them, and I don't know which ones to listen to. There are some that I like, but I know we're small here, but, for everyone who listens, I appreciate y'all. If y'all could hit the like button here on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, hit that link in the description and come to the YouTube channel. That would be swell. I would appreciate that. We got week 3 college football betting bets. Week 3 college football best bets. I feel like that's the best way to say it. So before we get into that, make sure y'all, if you're on Twitter, you already follow me, but I'm also on Instagram and I'm on TikTok. So go follow me over there too. Hit the subscribe button here on my YouTube channel. Do a lot of stuff here. Started building the channel up last year, covering Illinois basketball. We'll be doing that later once college basketball season starts. But doing a lot of stuff over here this fall and winter as baseball season comes to an end. If you're new here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I appreciate y'all. All right, now that little thing is over, let's get into it. Brandon on Twitter says, taking the orange and blue, the real number university in Illinois. Well, unfortunately, you can't even bet on Illinois if you're in the state of Illinois now. I tried to go bet on Illinois against Kansas. I tried to. I went to the DraftKings Sportsbook at Wrigley Field to try and place a bet on Illinois against Kansas last week, and they wouldn't let me. You can't even go. You can't even place a bet on an Illinois school at a sportsbook anymore. If there's any problems in the state of Illinois that we need to yell at JB Prisker about, it is this. This is bullshit that you can't bet on any Illinois school in the state of Illinois anymore. You can't do it on the mobile app, and you can't do it at the actual sports book. You gotta go to Indiana or you gotta go to Iowa. That's just too much work for me, man. And I don't put enough money down to justify getting in my car and driving across the border. Okay, there's just not enough. Maybe if I wanted to put a massive sum down to go do it, I would. And I wish I would have last week, because I did kind of like Illinois last week. It was not an official play, but I tried to place a bet at the DraftKings Sportsbook at Wrigley, and they just wouldn't let me. And I was so upset. Baseball season is over. No, I'm not saying it's over, but it's basically over, at least for the Cubs. That's what I was saying. Definitely going to bet on some postseason baseball, no doubt. Maybe do some videos related to that here on this YouTube channel too. So Brandon, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, man. I appreciate your support. I know you've been following for a long time. Means a lot. Okay. Anyway, now that my spiel about not being able to bet on Illinois schools in this state, let's get into it. First one here to the right of the screen, Alabama minus 16.5 at Wisconsin. Listen, this is one of those where it's just like, don't overthink it. Like, I can't justify putting any money on Tyler Van Dyke tomorrow. I can't do it. I know Alabama, I don't know, they have some offensive line problems, right? They got some offensive line problems. But Wisconsin, 0-11 against the spread as a double-digit home underdog the past 30 seasons. I'm pretty sure I read that stat. If I said it wrong, if I read it wrong, either way, it's still really bad, all right? The biggest line as a home underdog they've had of recent was 14.5 against Ohio State last season. That's the biggest line they've had at home since 2005, as a home underdog at least. They lost that game by 14 points. So it must have opened at 14.5. Probably didn't close at 14.5. Either way, if it is just the one, they covered by a half point maybe last year. I don't know. I just feel like you don't. This is when you just don't overthink. I'll take Jalen Milroe over Tyler Van Dyke I don't know how else to say it. I have to bet Alabama minus 16.5 tomorrow. I just do. Maybe Wisconsin hangs around for a half, maybe, but I mean, week 1, Wisconsin against Central Michigan, 20-plus point favorites, did not cover. You could have argued they were a few plays away from losing at home week 1 to them. I watched that entire game. It was disgusting football. All right. I do not like what's going on in Wisconsin, man. And now that you get to host Alabama. I understand you're at home. You know, maybe the stars align, and if so, I'll give them all the credit. But to me, Alabama minus 16.5 is one where you just don't overthink it. You place the bet and then you cash, because I think they win by 3 touchdowns tomorrow. That's just how I feel. Okay. So Alabama minus 16.5. Now, Jalen Milroe, I was looking at his props. The rushing yard total. I was kind of surprised to see that his rushing total, he hasn't gone over that mark a lot in recent not just recent games, but recent years. Let me bring it up right now. I was thinking about playing this. This is like, if you don't want to play that big of a spread, I was thinking about playing his rushing yard total. I think it was around 46.5. I was looking at BetMGM. Bring it up right now. Okay. Was that 46? Yeah, 46.5. He did, week 1, he did get 79 yards rushing, but had 2 against USF last week, South Florida. Last year, he went over it 62% of his games. But he also had a bunch of games where, he finished in the negative yards. All right. Texas A&M last year, Arkansas last year. He had 3 yards against Tennessee rushing. I mean, it's like he's either boom or bust in this category. And Wisconsin's pretty good against the run in general. I think last year they were ranked 40th in college football. And so far this year, and their opponents that they face, opposing quarterbacks have finished in the negative as far as rushing yards. I think that Alabama is going to be able to throw the ball, and I don't know if they're going to run it as much. If they run it, it ain't going to be with him. I think it'll be more so with what's his name, Miller. So I kind of like the under on the Milroe rushing prop. It's not an official play, but I was thinking about playing that. Maybe I'll put it in my Prize Picks entry. Maybe I'll put it in it, or if it is on Prize Picks, or just in a parlay of sorts or something. So yeah, that's the first one. Alabama minus 16.5 at Wisconsin. All right, next one. Colorado at Colorado State. We got a rivalry game here. This game last year went to overtime. Dion versus, I guess the little brothers there at Colorado State. There was a lot of trash talk last year. Torrey Horton publicly said that they should have murdered them last year. There's a lot of bad blood going into this, as I love to see in a in-state rivalry game. Now, speaking of Horton, I think it's kind of questionable of him being able to play, but if he plays, I love the over in this game. If he plays, I love the over. And even if he doesn't play, I still might take the over anyway, because Colorado has literally been everything that they were last year. Their offensive line still sucks. All right. Their passing game is awesome. Shedeur Sanders has been awesome. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Travis Hunter probably going to be number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's insane. Jimmy Horn, they don't talk about him enough. He's been great for them. He had almost a 200-yard receiving game in week 1 against North Dakota State. But their defense is terrible. And the other Sanders kid, I believe, is out, got hurt. And it doesn't look any different to me. They gave up almost over 20 points to North Dakota State. They got absolutely trounced by Nebraska last week in a rivalry game at Nebraska. Now they go to Colorado State. I just feel like this is a terrible spot for Colorado. And you can get Colorado State at home. You're getting points, 7 points, a touchdown. I feel like Colorado State is an absolute must play here. I'd even dabble on the money line. I might do a little money line parlay, put Colorado State in there. I like Colorado State to cover the 7, maybe even win outright, just because there's a lot of turmoil going on at Colorado right now, especially after Shedeur Sanders called out his offensive line. Just a lot of things being said that is kind of like yikes going on with Colorado right now. Maybe it's just noise, but Colorado hasn't proven anything to show that that's just noise. All right. You don't go on the road to Nebraska and get just absolutely shelled like that. And then expect anyone to think any differently than what people already thought coming into the season. So, and the fact that they don't really have a run game either hasn't changed. I think Shedeur Sanders will still, throw the ball a ton, and Travis Hunter will probably have a 100+ yard receiving game, which I think I might be considering playing that. But I just don't know how you don't take Colorado State here to cover the 7, maybe sprinkle on that money line. So that's where I'm at on that. Okay. All right. And then let's go to LSU at South Carolina. I believe so. LSU, they lost week 1 to USC. Then they had Nicholls State last week. They did not cover either one of those games. All right. South Carolina just beat Kentucky, I believe. I'm going to look that up just in case I'm wrong, because there's so many games and I forget them all. South Carolina. South Carolina. Yes, they just went to Kentucky and won 31-6. They barely beat Old Dominion in week 1 as 20-point favorites though. So, and they were 9.5-point underdogs against Kentucky last week. So, is this a letdown spot for South Carolina? I'm not sure, but this is why I'm taking the under, because I don't really know what to think about LSU, and I really don't know what to think about South Carolina. That first game for LSU against USC, everything pretty much looked the same. As far as their defense, I'm not high on their defense. But South Carolina's secondary's been pretty good for them. I know, it's Kentucky and Old Dominion, but I just think that there's a lot of question with both these teams, right? I think LSU has they probably will have the better run game. But again, their defense just still sucks. And I think that South Carolina can be able to move the ball on the ground, but their passing offense sucks. It's like 100 it's outside the top 100 and then passing efficiency, stuff like that. So can they run the ball? Big question. All right. Can LSU stop? Can they stop an offense? Can South Carolina actually do something on offense? Right. And these things are why I'm leaning to take the under. I got the under at 48. Okay. Maybe play it to 46. I don't know, but I got it at 48. They have a great secondary, like I said about South Carolina. LSU, they've struggled to run the ball, but South Carolina's got a great secondary. So how are they going to be able to move the ball as well? It's not Jaden Daniels back there anymore. I still think that their offense is solid. It was pretty good against USC is for week 1, I guess. But yeah, I don't like. I feel like each team can negate the strength of the other team that they're facing in this matchup. So that's why I'm leaning the under here. 48 points, folks. 48 points. That's low for a college football game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if that South Carolina letdown happens here. Again, they're 9.5-point favorites or underdogs last week. They went outright by a ton. Is there a letdown at home? I don't think so, considering it's at home and this is a big game, but college football is just so unpredictable. So again, I like the under. LSU traveling to South Carolina. Give me the under 48. All right. Next up, we got West Virginia at Pittsburgh. believe it's called the Backyard Brawl. I think that's what this rivalry is called. I'm taking West Virginia -2. West Virginia -2. We talked about them a couple weeks ago in week 1 when they hosted Penn State. I took West Virginia to cover that game, and they ended up getting blown out, and it was an embarrassment. But I do think that they win this game because I think there are more questions with Pittsburgh, especially on defense. Their defense has just not played very well, even though they rank in the top 50 of some of their stats, but they've also played Kent State and Cincinnati. West Virginia, they've already been really battle tested. Week 1 against Penn State got blown out, bounced back last week and won that game against, I think they played an FCS opponent last week. So whatever, take that for what you will. I just think there's more that you can bank on with West Virginia here. More returners from last year's team on this team compared to Pittsburgh. West Virginia is a run-first offense, and Pittsburgh's defense, I just think it's questionable considering what it's done against Kent State and Cincinnati. While it's, again, just inside the top 50 for some of those stats, you'd think it should be better considering who they've played. So I think I'm starting to fall down on West Virginia, but I do like them in this matchup on the road at Pittsburgh. Should be a close game either way, but I'll give West Virginia the edge. You get it, giving it to me under a field goal. It's basically a pick 'em. If you don't want that -2, consider the money line. I don't hate it. All right, so give me West Virginia -2. All right, and finally, folks, Memphis goes to Florida State. Florida State has been awful, folks. They lose in Ireland first week of the season to Georgia Tech as 10.5-point favorites. They come back home week 2 with a jet lag as 16.5-point favorites against Boston College. And not only do they not cover, they also do not win. So one might say in Tallahassee, they are in shambles, okay? And it comes down to this. All right? Memphis has a chance to be in the college football playoff, all right? They have a chance. And they're going to use that energy to go down to Florida State and try and cover the spread, and to not only cover the spread, but win this game. And I just do not trust DJ. I can't say his last name. The quarterback. He's been awful these first 2 weeks. He's been awful. They haven't been able to really run the ball either, which is a problem. Give him, I think on most books it's at 6.5. I'm buying up to 7. I got it at -120. I think it's totally worth it. -120 to give me the touchdown. Just give it to me. I'd even consider 6.5, but if Florida State ends up winning by a touchdown, that'd be a brutal beat. That's why I just said, screw it. I'm buying up. Give me Memphis +7 at Florida State. I do not trust Florida State's offense at all. It's just been atrocious. They've looked terrible. First 8 quarters of the season, they've looked terrible, folks. Absolutely awful. Okay. To be home favorites against a pretty decent Memphis team. I don't really get it. I think it opened at 3 and it's moved to 7. That's how much it's moved, and I'm surprised by it. Let me look at it. I'm gonna fact check that just to make sure. Memphis. Spell, Cody. Spell. Okay. Looking at the line. Yes. It opened actually opened around 1.5 and has now moved. And like I said, it's moved to 6.5. So I just went ahead and moved it up to 7. It did get up to 7 for a little bit and came back down. But yeah, crazy stuff. 56% of the public bets are on Memphis. Crazy, absolutely crazy. So yeah, I'm looking at Memphis' schedule. They played Troy last week. They won. They're 18.5-point favorites. They won outright. They played week 1. They won 40-0 as 38.5-point favorites. So they've covered their last 2 games. Yeah, I think this Memphis team is solid. And they think 6.5, 7 points too much. All right. So give me Memphis +7. Buy it up. Maybe wait till tomorrow. Maybe it goes back up. I don't. I'm afraid it's going to continue to drop at this point. So that's why I went ahead and got it at 7. So anyway, those are this week's week 3 college football betting bets. Best bets. All right. Alabama -16.5. Colorado State +7. South Carolina and LSU under 48. West Virginia -2. And then Memphis +7. All right. Be back tomorrow for NFL best bets, first one of the year. And yeah, follow me, subscribe to my Dub Club. I'm going to put the link in my description. I forgot to put it again. We got a small crowd over there that have subscribed. We got plays coming out every day. Coming off a few bad beats on Thursday night football and college football, but we're ready to bounce back tonight. I am taking UNLV +9.5 tonight. I got it at 9.5. It's come back down to 9. I'd still play it at 9. UNLV +9, and I lean the over on Arizona and Kansas State as well. So bet at your own risk, bet responsibly, and yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. I appreciate your support. Hit that like button on your way out, and yeah, y'all have a good rest of your Friday. Let's have a weekend. See ya.